In a ballroom carved out of a century-old stone palace, chandeliers cast warm halos over polished marble. Laughter flowed like champagne, and the string quartet drifted through the air like silk. The country's most influential families had gathered for a wedding that the tabloids would salivate over. The daughter of a shipping magnate marrying the heir of a tech empire. Servers in pressed shirts and bow ties moved like clockwork, refilling glasses and clearing plates with invisible precision. Among them was Alex, a young waiter with calloused hands and tired eyes, the muscles in his jaw tensed as he balanced a silver tray above his head. The wealth on display bordered on obscene. Guests wore diamonds that could pay for entire villages, and centerpieces overflowed with fresh roses. Alex couldn't help noticing the contrast between the abundance on each table and the memory of his mother rationing rice at home. Every dish he carried bore a reminder of the gulf between their worlds. He had learned long ago to tuck his feelings behind a pleasant smile, to be invisible when needed and attentive when required. But invisibility made you a target for those who needed someone to diminish. At table 7, a group of groomsmen already drunk on power and liquor eyed Alex with an arrogance born from a lifetime of never hearing no. Their tuxedos were sharper than their senses. Idle conversation about venture capital deals had devolved into bragging about yachts and mistresses. "Hey, you," one slurred, snapping his fingers as though calling a dog. Alex turned, lowering his tray slightly. "You can do more than carry plates, can't you? Show us some moves. Dance for us." His friends cackled, clinking their tumblers. Alex smiled politely, shaking his head. "I'm working, sir." "Come on, it's a celebration," another insisted, standing up unsteadily. A chorus of phones appeared, cameras ready, thumbs hovering to hit record. Alex felt the heat of their attention like a spotlight. He glanced at the head table where the bride, Julia, hadn't yet arrived. The seat beside her groom remained empty. Sweat gathered at the nape of his neck. Alex needed this job. The paycheck meant medicine for his mother and tuition for his youngest sibling. Every instinct told him to swallow his pride. "Let him dance," someone shouted. One of the groomsmen held out a $100 bill. "You know what? Make it 200. Show us how you people celebrate." Laughter erupted. The MC tried to intervene, but the groomsmen waved him off. Alex hesitated. He felt like an insect under magnifying glass. His fingers tightened around the tray. A memory flashed. His sister twirling him around their cramped living room as kids, teaching him to waltz by counting steps under her breath. He remembered her laugh, her promise to come back for him when she married into a better life. Alex swallowed. He lowered the tray to a nearby table, straightened his back, and took one step toward the impromptu stage made of spilled champagne and pride. He could hear the click of cameras, the murmurs of guests wondering whether this was part of the entertainment. To them, he was background noise until he became the main act. The band paused, sensing the tension. A hush fell over the nearest tables. Alex's heart thudded against his ribs. For a split second, he considered dropping his apron and walking out. But there was nowhere to go. He'd promised his mother he wouldn't ruin his chance. Breathing in deeply, he made a decision that would change more lives than he realized. Before we reveal whether Alex resists or caves to the pressure, take a second to imagine yourself in his shoes. If you've ever felt underestimated, you'll appreciate the courage he's about to summon. If you haven't already, hit that subscribe button to follow more stories where the overlooked become heroes. Alex hadn't always been Alex. Born Alejandro Salazar in a coastal town where fishing nets were mended more than dreams, he had grown up under the shadow of poverty. His older sister, Sofia, had promised them both escape. She was bright, ambitious, and fiercely protective. When she married David Caraxa, the son of a billionaire shipping tycoon, the town's whispers turned from envy to myths. They said Sofia had left her roots behind for diamonds and yachts. In reality, she'd begged Alex to come with her, but he'd refused to abandon their ailing mother. Years passed. Letters became postcards. Postcards became sporadic texts as their worlds diverged. Sophia's life became gala dinners and charity auctions, while Alex toiled as a mechanic, a bartender, a delivery driver, whatever kept the lights on. As children, Sophia and Alex had been inseparable. They'd raced along the harbor, chasing gulls. They'd shared a single pair of school shoes between them, trading off on alternate days. Their mother, Mariana, worked 2 jobs to put food on the table and save a few pesos for her children's dreams. At night, she told them stories of her own childhood, reminding them that dignity wasn't tied to wealth. "Remember," she'd say, her finger tapping Alex's chest, "no one can make you feel small unless you let them." Those words became a mantra that Alex would repeat to himself years later when facing men with expensive watches and cheap hearts. By the time Sophia left, their roles had reversed. Alex became the caretaker, ensuring their mother took her medication, that the house didn't crumble. Sophia sent money whenever she could, but there was always more month than there was wire transfer. Alex resented the distance, but never his sister. He loved her fiercely for daring to step into a world that was never meant for people like them. He promised himself he would earn his own place there, not as a guest, but as an equal. 3 months before the wedding, a diagnosis shifted Alex's world again. Their mother's heart condition worsened, requiring surgery that insurance refused to fully cover. Sophia wired money immediately, of course, but pride kept Alex working double shifts to pay his share. He refused to be fully dependent on his sister's gilded life. He took a seasonal job at an events catering company known for serving the city's elite. It was there he heard rumors of a wedding at the Caracas estate. Sophia hadn't told him she would be marrying off her stepson, Murat, in Istanbul's most anticipated social event. Hurt pricked at Alex's chest. Had she finally severed the last thread between them? 2 weeks before the event, he received a voice message. "Alejandro," Sophia's voice crackled through his phone, full of warmth. "Life has been a whirlwind, but I miss you. I'm throwing a small dinner next weekend. No excuses. You must come. Also, I may have arranged for you to work at a certain wedding. Don't be mad. I want you here. There's something I need to tell you in person." Alex felt anger, confusion, then a resigned smile. He agreed. Maybe this would be their chance to reconnect. Training at the catering company was rigorous. New hires shadowed veterans through banquet halls, learning to anticipate a guest's needs before they even looked up. The head chef, a stern woman named Ezra, drilled them on menu pronunciations and correct posture. In the locker room, Alex met Cem, another waiter working his way through law school. Sharing jokes with Cem made the job feel lighter. The day arrived in a blur of early call times and polished silverware. The Caracas estate was transformed into a fairy tale venue. White orchids cascading from chandeliers, gold-trimmed chairs, a monogrammed dance floor that looked like a lake. Staff were briefed. No eye contact with high-profile guests unless necessary. Keep movements discreet. Anticipate needs before being asked. Alex stuck to his station near the corner, determined to do his job well and avoid any entanglements. Yet he couldn't help scanning faces, searching for his sister among the sea of glamour. Between courses, Cem nudged him. "See anyone?" Alex shook his head. "Not yet. Maybe she doesn't want to talk to me." Murat, the groom, was the epitome of modern wealth. Tailored suit, watch that cost more than Alex's yearly wage, a rehearsed smile for every camera. His bride, Julia, was rumored to be late because she wanted to make an entrance. Their families mingled, shipping magnates, tech investors, media moguls. Alex recognized one of the groomsmen from a news article about a startup exit, another from a scandal involving a yacht and tax evasion. The groomsmen's laughter filled the hall long before the ceremony began. It was that group who would later focus their mischief on Alex, not because of anything he did, but because humiliation entertains those who feel untouchable. As Alex prepares to balance family loyalty with his dignity, think about the last time you had to swallow pride for someone you love. Stories like these remind us of our own resilience. Drop a comment about a time you made a sacrifice, and let's inspire each other. The ceremony went off flawlessly, a symphony of vows, tears, and applause. Julia walked down the aisle like a swan gliding across still water. When she and Murat kissed, a cheer erupted, and confetti cannons painted the air with gold. Alex caught Sophia's silhouette in the crowd. Elegant, her hair swept up, her smile soft. She didn't notice him, and he didn't call out. Duty bound him to the side of the room with his tray. He'd speak to her later. Dinner service began. Courses flowed. Lobster bisque, truffle risotto, lamb racks with pomegranate reduction. Alex moved gracefully between tables, listening to half conversations. At one table, older businessmen debated shipping routes. At another, influencers posed for stories. Then there was table 7, the groomsmen who drank faster than the servers could pour. Their laughter grew louder, more obnoxious. Their jokes became cruder. When dessert was served, one of them flicked crème brûlée at a waiter's back and roared when the man flinched. Alex approached with a pitcher to refill their wine. "Hey, isn't that the same guy from earlier?" One groomsman said loudly, slapping his friend's shoulder. "He looks like he could break dance." They snickered. Alex kept his eyes down, trying to pour steadily. "Seriously," another insisted, standing and blocking his way. "Lighten up. Dance. What are we paying you for?" A few guests glanced over. Most looked away. No one wanted to challenge the sons of powerful men. Alex's stomach tightened. He thought of his mother lying in a hospital bed, of Sophia's voicemail. Pride flared. "I'm sorry, gentlemen. I'm here to serve, not entertain," he said with measured calm. Laughter erupted. "Oh, he thinks he's better than us," one mocked, mimicking Alex's accent. Phone cameras hovered. Alex's cheeks burned. "All right," another man, Sirkin, said, swaying as he stood. He was a cousin to the groom and known for his brazen arrogance. He pulled out his wallet and slapped several crisp bills onto the table. "Do a dance, or you won't see a dime in tip tonight." He held up his phone. "I bet this goes viral. Waiter gets schooled. Has a nice ring, doesn't it?" Alex scanned the room for the event coordinator, but she was on the other side dealing with a spilled drink. He felt trapped. He could refuse and risk causing a scene that might cost him his job, or he could comply and feel the weight of humiliation. His heart hammered. He recalled the waltz steps his sister taught him. If he had to dance, he'd do it on his terms. Alex carefully set down the pitcher, stepped back, and, against every fiber of his dignity, began to move. He didn't flail or perform a caricature. He lifted his arms gracefully, taking a partnerless waltz step to the left, then to the right, spinning as if he were holding an invisible partner. For a moment, the jeers quieted. His footwork was precise. He pictured his sister counting, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. He bowed with a flourish after a few measures. Some guests clapped politely. The groomsmen, expecting to see him stumble, booed. "No, no, we want something funny," one shouted, reaching out to grab his wrist. Before Serkan could yank Alex closer, a voice cut through the noise. "What exactly do you think you're doing?" The hall seemed to exhale. Heads turned as Julia, now Mrs. Carica, stood at the entrance beside Sophia. The bride's expression had sharpened from bliss to disbelief. Her white gown glittered like frost under the chandeliers, but her eyes blazed. Beside her, Sophia looked at the scene with a mixture of anger and heartbreak. Her gaze landed on Alex, and recognition flooded her face. She stepped forward. "Is this how you treat people who make your events possible?" Julia asked, her voice calm but edged with steel. The groomsman stammered, suddenly aware of the cameras still rolling. Murat appeared behind his wife, confusion turning to anger as he saw his cousin holding Alex's wrist. "Serkan," he said coldly, "let go." Serkan released Alex as though burned. "It was just a joke," he muttered. Sophia, barely 5 feet away now, looked at Alex properly. "Alejandro?" she whispered, tears already gathering. Alex's facade cracked. "Hola, hermana," he said softly, switching to Spanish for the first time in years. Sophia moved faster than anyone expected. She wrapped her arms around him in a fierce hug, heedless of the stares and whispers. "Why didn't you tell me you were here?" she asked, her voice shaking. Alex swallowed his own emotions. "I didn't want to make this day about me, and I didn't want to ask for anything more." Their conversation carried the weight of years. Sophia thought of the times she had tried to call, but work had pulled her away. Alex thought of the nights he'd drafted messages, but deleted them because pride wouldn't let him press send. In that embrace, both realized the distance had been a wall they'd each built, brick by brick. Now, under chandeliers and scrutinizing eyes, that wall crumbled. Murat cleared his throat. "Ladies and gentlemen," he said, his voice carrying, "I owe everyone an apology, especially our hard-working staff." He turned to Alex. "I'm sorry, Mr. Salazar," Alex replied. "Alex Salazar." Murat extended a hand. "Mr. Salazar, I had no idea you were my wife's brother, but even if you weren't, you deserve respect." He shot a look at his cousin. "You and anyone who thinks demeaning someone is amusing will leave now. This is a wedding, not a playground." The groomsmen blanched. Security approached discreetly to escort them out. Some guests cheered quietly. Others looked embarrassed for not having intervened sooner. Cem slipped by Alex, squeezing his shoulder in silent solidarity. "About time someone said something," he whispered. A handful of young guests put their phones away, ashamed of having recorded the scene for entertainment. Sophia took Alex's hand. "Come with me," she said. "Mama's surgery is already scheduled, and I want you by my side when I donate to the hospital in her honor. We have catching up to do, and there's a room full of guests who will learn your name tonight." Alex hesitated. "I don't want charity." Sophia squeezed his hand. "It's not charity when it's family." As they walked away, Alex noticed Julia lean toward her new husband. "This is why we need to lead differently," she murmured. Murat nodded, his jaw tight. He realized his wealth had insulated him from seeing cruelty in his own circle. Embarrassment settled on his shoulders, heavier than his suit jacket. He promised himself he wouldn't forget this moment once the music faded. If this confrontation moved you, seeing someone stand up against cruelty, tap the like button and share your thoughts. These real-life inspired stories thrive on your engagement and help us bring more of them to light. The remainder of the evening shifted. Whispers turned into conversations about respect and humility. Guests who had previously laughed uneasily now approached the staff to thank them. Julia, hand in hand with Murat, made a point of addressing the entire catering team, expressing gratitude for their professionalism. Sophia introduced Alex to curious attendees as "my brother, the most hard-working man I know." Cameras still recorded, but the narrative changed from humiliation to redemption. Social media posts later that night wouldn't be about a waiter being mocked. They would highlight a bride who defended dignity and a family reunion years in the making. At a side table far from the dance floor, Alex sat with Sophia. They talked between bites of cake, their mother's health, Sophia's busy life, Alex's refusal to accept all the money she offered. "You always were stubborn," Sophia teased. "And you always were a troublemaker," Alex shot back, smiling. For the first time in years, their laughter mingled without bitterness. Murat joined them briefly, apologizing again. "Sometimes we forget where we come from," he said. "I grew up with drivers and chefs and tutors. It took today to remind me that we owe everything to the people who work quietly behind us. The dance floor became a place of healing. As the band shifted to softer melodies, Sophia pulled Alex onto the dance floor. "No one will force you this time," she whispered. They danced, siblings reunited, their steps naturally syncing. Other guests joined, and soon the humiliation from earlier was replaced by genuine celebration. The guests danced not to mock, but to connect. Murat danced with his mother-in-law. Julia danced with the head chef. The hall radiated warmth. The next morning, videos from the wedding circulated online. The clip of Julia and Sophia confronting the groomsmen, accompanied by Alex's elegant waltz, quickly amassed views. Comment sections filled with praise for the bride's stand and condemnation of class-based bullying. "This restored my faith in humanity," one comment read. Another said, "More people need to call out this kind of behavior." News outlets picked up the story, framing it as a lesson in humility for the wealthy. Social commentators on morning shows discussed the power dynamics at play. The catering company received an influx of business requests and supportive messages. Alex, who wanted nothing more than to pay for his mother's surgery, found his story resonating with people worldwide. In the weeks that followed, Sophia kept her promise. She funded their mother's surgery, and Alex moved her into a sunlit apartment closer to parks she loved. Alex continued working, but he negotiated better terms and took night classes with Sophia's encouragement. Murat implemented an employee respect training program for his family's company. Serkan issued a public apology and donated to a workers' rights charity. Whether out of guilt or image control was unclear, but the funds helped people regardless. The wedding that almost turned into a viral humiliation ended up sparking dialogue about dignity that reached far beyond the Karaka estate. Later, Alex texted Cem to share that he had enrolled in night classes. His friend replied with a thumbs up and a heart. Alex smiled, feeling the warm weight of possibility. If you found inspiration in Alex's journey from humiliation to healing, consider subscribing for more narratives that challenge power and celebrate everyday heroes. Share this story with someone who could use a reminder that respect costs nothing but changes everything. After all the champagne flutes were cleared and the last light switched off, the real takeaway lingered. Wealth measured in money means nothing without wealth of character. It took one wedding and a brother's quiet strength to show a room full of billionaires what true riches look like. In the end, the story's power came not from the spectacle of humiliation, but from the collective decision to choose empathy over apathy. That choice is available to all of us, whether we're serving at a banquet or seated at the head table.